Hello, I am Amila, and today I will tell you a story hidden in the shadows of ancient Rome. What secrets lurk in the shadows of ancient Rome's grandeur? Beyond the empire's marble columns and roaring arenas, a hidden world thrived, one built on the suffering of those whose voices were silenced. Last time, we saw young girls torn from their homes, sold like livestock in Rome's bustling markets. But their stories don't end at the auction block. Behind the polished walls of villas and the grim brothels of the city, female slaves faced lives shaped by violence, control, and a desperate fight to survive. Today, we uncover their untold truths. Forced into breeding to fuel Rome's greed, used as pawns in the elite's cruel games, and trapped in a cycle where even their children were claimed by the empire. This isn't just history, it's a mirror, reflecting the brutal cost of power built on broken lives. Picture a Roman villa, its halls alive with the clink of goblets and the laughter of the wealthy. To the elite, this was a haven of luxury, a testament to their dominance. But for the women enslaved within, it was a gilded cage. These women weren't just sweeping floors or serving wine, they were possessions. Their bodies controlled in ways that chill the soul. A master's whim could dictate their every moment, from labor to far darker demands. Some were chosen for their beauty, others for their strength, but all shared one grim reality. Their lives were not their own. Their value lay in what they could provide, be it work, pleasure, or something even more sinister. Let's walk with a woman we'll call Livia. Barely 16, she was born in a distant village, far from Rome's reach, when raiders dragged her from her family. Sold to a wealthy senator, she found herself in a sprawling villa, surrounded by opulence that mocked her pain. To her master, Livia was a prize. Her youth and beauty, a status symbol to flaunt. But behind the villa's gleaming facade, a brutal truth unfolded. Women like Livia were summoned at any hour. Their refusal met with the crack of a whip, or worse, the senator's guests would leer, their laughter a cruel reminder of her powerlessness. Can you imagine waking each day, knowing your body, your future, belonged to someone else? Every step she took was on a knife's edge, her survival hinging on her ability to endure. One of the darkest truths about these women was their role in Rome's economy, not just as laborers, but as producers of more slaves. The empire ran on human lives, and female slaves were its fuel. Many were forced into breeding, their bodies used to create the next generation of workers. A healthy child, born to a slave, wasn't a cause for joy. It was a transaction. That child, born in chains, became the master's property, destined to be sold, trained, or worked to death. Picture Livia, her heart breaking as she held her newborn, knowing they'd never know freedom. Her child was no more hers than she was her own. This wasn't a cruel accident. It was a deliberate system. Wealthy Romans saw slave women as tools. For profit, their wombs a resource to exploit. These breeding practices were chillingly calculated. Some estates ran what we might call programs, pairing women with male slaves chosen for their strength or appearance. Consent was a myth. A woman's body was a commodity, her pain irrelevant. Overseers kept meticulous records, tracking which women bore healthy children and which didn't. Those who couldn't were often sold off or sent to harder labor, their worth deemed less. The empire's hunger for labor was insatiable, and these women bore the weight of feeding it. Their children, raised in the shadow of their mother's suffering, were trained from birth to serve, whether as field hands, house slaves, or worse. It's a stark reminder of how power can twist humanity into something cold and mechanical. Now let's step into Rome's gritty streets at night. The city never slept, its alleys pulsing with life and shadow. Brothels line these streets, their flickering lamps casting eerie glows on faces that had long forgotten hope. Many female slaves were sent here, their bodies sold to anyone with coin. These women weren't just workers. They were commodities, their value measured by how much they could endure. The elite frequented these places, their desires cloaked in the empire's casual cruelty. For a woman like Livia, a night in a brothel could mean violence, shame, or both. Survival meant shutting out the world, finding ways to numb the pain of a life where every stranger held power over you. The air was thick with despair. Yet some women clung to fragments of resilience. In these dark corners, small acts of defiance flickered. Women formed quiet alliances, sharing whispered secrets to protect each other. A glance, a coded word, a hidden act of kindness. These were lifelines in a world designed to break them. Some learned to manipulate their circumstances, using charm or wit to gain small favors, a lighter workload, a moment's rest. These acts weren't freedom, but they were survival, proof that their spirits hadn't been fully crushed. Imagine the strength it took to hold on to hope when every day brought new reasons to despair. These women, stripped of everything, still found ways to resist, to carve out moments of humanity in a system that saw them as nothing. Now picture the glittering banquet halls of Rome's elite, where power was flaunted like a trophy. These feasts were spectacles, and female slaves were often the entertainment. Some were forced to dance, their movements drilled under threat of punishment. Others acted in crude plays, their dignity sacrificed for laughs. The worst moments came when the wine flowed freely and the guests' whims turned cruel. A woman? They could be pulled from the room, her fate decided by a stranger's mood. These weren't just parties. They were displays of dominance, where slaves were props in a game of power. The laughter of the elite drowned out the silent screams of the women trapped in their midst. Can you feel the weight of that? The way every smile hid a threat, every cheer a reminder of their chains. Yet, even here, defiance flickered. Some women shared knowledge, passing down herbal remedies to protect themselves from unwanted pregnancies or to ease the pain of their reality. Others formed bonds, protecting each other when they could. A whispered warning about a cruel guest, a shared meal in the shadows. These small acts were rebellions against a system that sought to erase their humanity. Imagine the courage it took to hold on to a piece of yourself when everything was designed to strip it away. These women weren't just surviving, they were fighting in the only ways they could to keep their spirits alive. Let's pause and reflect. These women carried unimaginable burdens. They faced the horror of knowing their children would inherit their chains, the constant threat of violence, the loss of any dream they might have once held. Yet their stories aren't just about suffering. They're about survival, about finding ways to endure when the world saw you as less than human. These women were daughters, sisters, mothers, reduced to tools, but never fully broken. Their lives, though hidden in history's shadows, demand to be remembered. Beyond the villas and brothels, some women faced different fates. A few were sent to the fields, toiling under the sun until their bodies gave out. Others worked in mines, where damp tunnels and back-breaking labor claimed lives quickly. Some became nursemaids, caring for the children of the elite, children who grew up with more rights than their own. Even in these roles, their humanity was ignored. A field worker's hands bled, a miner's lungs failed, a nursemaid's heart ached for her own stolen children. Every path was a gauntlet, every day a test of endurance. The empire's machine didn't care who it consumed, only that it kept running. Rome's laws offered no mercy. Slaves were property, not people. A master could beat, sell, or kill them without consequence. Manumission, freedom granted by a master, was rare and often hollow. A freed woman might still owe her former master loyalty or labor, her freedom more a gesture than a reality. For most, the chains were lifelong, broken only by death. The legal system was a reflection of Rome's values. Power above all, humanity, a distant afterthought. To be a female slave was to live in a world where justice was a privilege you'd never know. The children of these women faced the same grim fate. Born into slavery, they were raised to serve from the moment they could walk. A girl might follow her mother's path, facing the same horrors. A boy might be sent to the fields or trained as a gladiator, his life just as expendable. The cycle was relentless, designed to keep the empire's engine running. Yet, some mothers found ways to resist. They taught their children stories of lost homes, songs in forgotten languages, threads of identity passed down in secret. These were acts of defiance, fragile but unbreakable, a refusal to let the empire erase them completely. The scale of this suffering is staggering. At its height, Rome's slave population numbered in the millions, and women made up a significant portion. Their labor powered everything: agriculture, construction, entertainment. Their bodies fueled the empire's wealth, their pain its foundation. Yet, their names are largely lost, their stories buried beneath the triumphs of emperors and generals. To tell their story is to dig through history's cracks, to piece together fragments of lives Rome tried to erase. It's a reminder that every empire, no matter how grand, is built on the unseen suffering of those it deems disposable. Let's linger on that thought. Rome's legacy is one of conquest and glory, but it's also a story of stolen lives. The women in its shadows faced cruelty most of us can't fathom, yet they found ways to survive, to hold on to fragments of hope. Their resilience is a testament to the human spirit, a quiet strength that echoes through time. They weren't just victims, they were survivors. Their lives a challenge to look beyond the grandeur and see the cost of power. As we step back from this journey, let's carry their stories with us. These women weren't just relics of the past. They were the heartbeat of a world that tried to silence them. Their lives demand we question what lies beneath any empire's shine. What price is paid for its triumphs? They were daughters, sisters, mothers, their spirits unbroken despite the chains that bound them. Their stories are a call to remember the forgotten, to hear the voices history tried to bury. If this dive into Rome's hidden truths gripped you, don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from history's shadows. Until next time, keep searching for the voices that time tried to erase